Ever find yourself promising, tomorrow I'll finally start? Maybe it's waking up early, hitting the gym, or studying after work. But somehow tomorrow always seems to reset at midnight. If that sounds familiar, don't worry. You're not alone and you're not broken. The truth is, success doesn't begin with big declarations. It begins with one quiet promise: to show up, even when it's hard. And that's where the real story of discipline begins. I'm your friendly guide, Mr. Smart, and today we are not just talking about motivation. We are diving into the heart of transformation, the truth about how to build self-discipline. Let's begin. Imagine your life as a garden. Each day you choose whether to water it or whether to plant something new. Some days it's sunny and easy. Other days it's rainy, and you'd rather stay indoors. But the garden doesn't care about your mood, it grows based on your consistency. That's what real discipline feels like. It's not about dramatic bursts of growth. It's about steady nurturing, quiet effort, and trust in the process. Now let's talk about how to actually build that consistency. Here are 4 steps that can shape your self-discipline into a lifelong force. Step 1. Start with a micro-win. Discipline doesn't begin with grand gestures. It begins with the smallest possible victory, what I like to call a micro-win. Picture a young man named Adil who wanted to get fit. He didn't start with a strict gym plan or a marathon goal. Instead, he promised himself to do just 5 push-ups a day. That's it. No gym membership, no timer, no excuses. Just 5 push-ups before bed. At first, it felt too easy. But within a week, 5 became 10, then 20. Eventually, it wasn't about the number, it was about the identity. He became someone who showed up, and that changed everything. A small win builds trust in yourself. It's the spark that lights the fire. You don't need massive willpower, you need proof that you can begin. That's where self-discipline techniques come alive, by designing moments that are too small to fail. These moments are seeds of transformation. Over time, they grow into deep-rooted habits that support your biggest goals. Step 2. Make discipline invisible. Here's something no one tells you. The most disciplined people rarely use discipline. That's because they have engineered their lives to reduce friction. Imagine Emma, who used to skip her morning workouts. Not because she didn't care, but because by the time she found clean clothes, filled her bottle, and picked a playlist, her willpower had already evaporated. So she simplified it. She laid out her gym clothes the night before. She filled her bottle and queued up the playlist. The result? She removed the decision entirely. That's when things changed. This is the real meaning behind the phrase, discipline is power. It's not about force, it's about flow. If you remove the number of choices you need to make, you will have more energy to actually follow through. When you automate discipline by designing smart environments, you shift your identity. You don't try to be someone with the discipline. You become someone who doesn't need to try. Your environment becomes a silent partner in your growth. And when everything is aligned, showing up feels natural. Step 3. Embrace the power of boredom. Here's the truth. Discipline gets boring, not just boring, really boring. Progress doesn't always feel exciting. And sometimes it's just showing up, again and again, even when there's no applause, no results, and no end in sight. But that's also where the magic happens. Take Jamal, a high school teacher who wanted to run his first 10K. The first few days felt electric. New shoes, crisp air, a runner's high. But by week 3, it felt like a chore. The runs were slow. The mornings cold. He almost quit, until he remembered his goal wasn't speed, it was consistency. He ran slowly, walked sometimes, but he never stopped. 3 months later, he crossed the finish line. Not because he was the fastest, but because he stayed in the game long enough to finish. That's how to build self-discipline. You train yourself to keep showing up, especially when it stops being fun. That's when grit becomes a habit. And in those quiet repetitions, you begin to realize something beautiful. Boredom isn't the enemy. It's the beginning of mastery where quiet repetition slowly shapes something remarkable. Step 4. Tie your discipline to your identity. Discipline sticks when it's not just something you do, but something you are. Let me tell you about Naomi. She wanted to eat healthier, but every Friday night the same thing happened. Pizza, soda, regret. She kept saying, "I'm trying to eat clean," but nothing changed. Then one day she rewrote her internal script. Instead of saying, "I'm trying to eat healthy," she said, "I'm the kind of person who fuels her body to stay strong and focused." Everything shifted. She wasn't depriving herself, she was aligning with her values. That shift from doing to being is one of the most overlooked self-discipline habits. We follow through most when we act in alignment with who we believe we are. So the next time you want to build discipline, don't ask, "How can I force myself to do this?" Ask instead, "What kind of person would naturally do this and how can I become that person?" That's the bridge between actions and identity. That's how discipline becomes effortless. Because when you change your self-image, your behavior follows almost automatically. So, what's the real secret? You already know it. It's that self-discipline for success isn't about being harsh or cold or robotic. It's about trust. Self-trust. It's built on one tiny decision at a time. It's not about punishing yourself. It's about honoring the future you. When you feel tired, think of this. Every decision you make is like laying a brick. Some days, you lay just one. Other days, you might lay 10. But each one builds towards something real. There's a version of you living in the house you're building. Steady, focused, fulfilled. You don't have to rush to meet them. You just have to keep laying bricks, one choice at a time. That's the power of self-discipline. Not just the power to say no, but the power to say yes to your goals, your health, your ambition, your future. So if this resonates with you, go ahead and hit that like button. Leave a comment telling us what your first micro win will be this week. And if you haven't already, subscribe to the channel, because here on Mr. Smart, we're not chasing perfection. We're making smart, sustainable choices, one step at a time. The next step is yours, and it might just be the one that changes everything.